Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Roberts.
Your Honor, the court should have two cases for Kishana Thomas today. The first is case number 2015 CF 3593, and the second is 2015 CF 3572. We would like to enter a change of plea to those two cases. I have plea forms for the court.
Okay.
And I've put on there what I believe the negotiated plea is. I'd like to go through that when the court has a moment or is ready.
All right. I'm ready.
In 2015 CF 3572, our understanding of what is happening today is that as to count one of that information, the state is going to amend, or we're going to enter a plea to a lesser included offense of murder in the second degree under Florida Statute 782-042. We're also entering a plea to aggravated child abuse, Florida Statute 827-03, 1A, 2A, and abuse of a dead human body under Florida Statute 872-062. Your Honor, under that statute, which has a lot of different, refers to a lot of different things, Mr. Brown and I are in agreement that the prosecution here was for grossly abusing a dead human body and not for any of the other language that is within that statute.
And that's correct, Judge.
All right.
Our understanding of the negotiated plea as to this case is that on count one, the lesser murder in the second degree, Ms. Thomas will receive a sentence of 65 years, Department of Corrections. She will receive all credit for time served, including today's date. On count two, she will enter a plea to aggravated child abuse and be sentenced to 15 years, Department of Corrections, all credit for time served, including today. That sentence will run concurrent with count one. On count three, abuse of a dead human body, she will receive a sentence of 5 years, Department of Corrections, all credit for time served, including today. That sentence will be also concurrent with count one. State attorney costs, law enforcement costs, public defender costs will all be collected through the Department of Financial Recovery. All court costs will be reduced to a civil judgment. As to case number 2015 CF 3593, Ms. Thomas is earning a plea as charged to child abuse under Florida Statute 827-03, 1B2C, and she will be sentenced to 5 years in the Department of Corrections with all credit for time served, including today's date. That sentence will be concurrent with count one of 2015 CF 3572. Their state attorney costs, law enforcement costs, public defenders costs, again, will be collected through the Department of Financial Recovery. All court costs will be by judgment. I believe the state wants to reserve for restitution in this case.
Yes, I would ask the court to reserve jurisdiction to determine the amount of restitution in each case, both of which to be imposed through DFR or judgment.
And that is our understanding of what we're doing today, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Brown?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. So, Ms. Thomas, she can stay seated. If you could just move the microphone closer to her. All right, ma'am, raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right,
Yes, Your Honor.
put your hand down and tell me your name and your age.
Kishana Thomas, and I'm 33.
And Ms. Thomas, are you the defendant in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to ask you a series of questions today, and if you don't understand one of the questions that I ask me to tell me and ask me to repeat it, or I'll restate it for you. Will you do that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So you heard what your attorney put on the record about the plea agreement. Is that what you're agreeing to?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that would resolve all of your cases. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So in case number 2015 CF 3593 to the charge of child abuse, how do you plea?
No contest.
And in case number 2015 CF 3572 to the charges of murder in the second degree, aggravated child abuse, and abuse of a dead human body, how do you plea?
No contest.
And Mr. Brown, what are the maximum penalties for the charges to which she is pleading?
As to count 1, to the lesser included offense of second-degree murder, the maximum, that is a first-degree felony punishable by a term of years up to life. As to count 2, aggravated child abuse, that is a first-degree felony punishable by up to 30 years. As to abuse of a dead human body, count 3 of 3572, that is a second-degree felony punishable by up to 15 years. As to child abuse, in case 2015 CF 3593, the maximum penalty for that offense, it's a third-degree felony, and so the maximum sentence would be 5 years.
All right, so Ms. Thomas, do you understand what the maximum penalties are for the charges to which you are pleading today?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and I'm holding up the acknowledgement and waiver of rights forms that it appears you just signed, and I'm going to give you back the copies so you can refer to them if you need to. So I'm holding up the acknowledgement waiver of rights forms, also known as plea forms, on both of the cases. Have you read the plea form? Have you read these forms, or did someone read them to you?
I read them, Your Honor.
All right. And do you have any questions remaining about either of the plea forms that I'm holding up?
No, Your Honor.
All right. And did you sign both of the plea forms at the bottom of the page?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Do you read and write English?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any difficulty reading or writing English?
No, Your Honor.
How far did you go in school?
To the 9th grade.
Have you ever been treated for mental illness?
No, Your Honor.
Are you taking any medication out at the jail?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Have you had any alcohol, narcotics, or medication in the last 24 hours?
No, Your Honor.
Is there anything that may interfere with your ability to understand what we're doing here today?
No, Your Honor.
Do you understand the terms of the plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you discuss the terms of the plea with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you promised anything other than the terms that were discussed here in court today?
No, Your Honor.
Did anyone force you or threaten you in any way to accept the plea?
No, Your Honor.
Do you understand by accepting the plea in these cases, you're not going to have a trial in either case?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you accept this plea, you'll be giving up certain constitutional rights that I'm going to read to you now. They are the right to plead not guilty and have a jury trial, the right to an attorney or to have the court appoint one for you if you can't afford one, the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself and to have the state prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, the right to confront witnesses against you and to cross-examine those witnesses, the right to defend yourself by calling witnesses and presenting evidence, and the right to appeal the conviction and sentence to a higher court. Do you understand the rights, the constitutional rights that I just read to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
As to the right to appeal the conviction and sentence to a higher court, do you understand that this means that had there been a trial, you would have the right to appeal to the appellate court all matters related to the judgment and sentence, including the issue of guilt or innocence, but that you're giving that up today? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any questions about the constitutional rights that I just read to you?
No, Your Honor.
Do you understand all of the constitutional rights that I just read to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Understanding these rights, do you wish to give them up and accept the plea offer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand, if you're not a U.S. citizen, that this plea will subject you to deportation, meaning you can be kicked out of the United States?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you had enough time to discuss your cases, any possible defenses, and this plea with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there anything that you wanted your attorney to do to defend you in either case that hasn't already been done?
No, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with Mr. Roberts' representation and Ms. Hunter's representation,
Yes, Your Honor.
and the overall representation of the Public Defender's Office?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that entering this plea may cause your driving privileges to be suspended or revoked?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that if the offense to which you are pleading is a sexually violent offense or a sexually motivated offense, or if you've been previously convicted of such an offense, that this plea may subject you to involuntary civil commitment as a sexually violent predator upon completion of your sentence?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Roberts, have you reviewed the discovery in these cases with Ms. Thomas?
I have.
And is the State or Defense Counsel aware of any physical evidence for which DNA testing could exonerate Ms. Thomas?
I am not.
I am not, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Brown, would you put a factual basis for the plea on the record?
I will, Your Honor, but I would ask the court to make one additional inquiry as to whether anyone has made any representations as to the amount of time she would serve on her respective 65, 15, and 5-year sentences.
All right.
She would actually serve.
All right. And Ms. Thomas, has anyone made any representation to you as to how much time you'll actually serve on any of the sentences you will be receiving, the 65 years, the 15 years, or the 5-year sentences?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and you understand that that's completely up to the Department of Corrections, and that no one here has any authority to provide you with information regarding how much time you'll serve?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
In case number 2015 CF 3593, on or about September 23rd, 2015, J.A., who was at the time a 12-year-old child, was caught shoplifting by Walmart. According to J.A., upon his return home to the apartment he shared with the defendant, Kishana Thomas, located at 4880 51st Street West in Bradenton, Manatee County, Florida, Kishana Thomas punched and slapped him and threw him against a glass mirror which shattered. The defendant claimed that J.A. had broken from her grasp as she had attempted to discipline him and had run into a dresser which held the mirror, causing it to shatter. J.A. also indicated that on the ride home from Walmart, his mother had slapped and punched him on the head several times. Dr. Isaac, who examined J.A., opined that the injuries observed on J.A. were consistent with child abuse. On October 9, 2015, the defendant admitted to having hit J.A. with an open hand as they were leaving Walmart. As to case number 2015-3572, on or before October 16, 2015, law enforcement became aware that Janiyah Thomas had not been seen for some time. A search warrant was executed at Janiyah's last known address of 4880 51st Street West, Bradenton, Manatee County, Florida, Janiyah's last known address. Janiyah was not found at that address. Jabari Adams, Janiyah's brother, was interviewed and stated he did not know where Janiyah was, and that one day he had gone to school, and when he had returned, she was gone. During the course of the investigation, Jabari disclosed that due to problems Janiyah was having in controlling her bowels, Kishana Thomas kept Janiyah in the bathroom, often naked. Law enforcement interviewed Johnita Murray, a cousin of Keshana Thomas, and Jessica Roscoe Jones, a former girlfriend of Keshana Thomas's. Both witnesses who observed Janiyah in 2013 told affiant that Janiyah Thomas had incontinence issues that would result in her frequent soiling of herself. As a result, Janiyah would often try to hide it by wiping herself with clothes. As a result of the problem, Keshana had Janiyah wear Depends. When Janiyah was kept in the bathroom, a trunk was placed in front of the bathroom door to prevent Janiyah from leaving the bathroom. On the day Jabari discovered Janiyah was gone, he observed that the bathroom door was now open and that the bathroom smelled like bleach. Keshana Thomas instructed Jabari and his sister Jatira Adams to throw away the trunk and Janiyah's clothing. Prior to that time, when Janiyah would attempt to escape the bathroom in order to get food, Keshana Thomas would command Janiyah to go back in the bathroom. On December 15, 2014, a neighbor, Terry Smith, observed Janiyah digging through a trash can at the apartment complex in an attempt to find food. Smith's girlfriend, Retta Bradley, had previously seen the other children of Keshana Thomas around the apartment complex, but had never seen Janiyah. She fed Janiyah and told Keshana that she had met Janiyah, and when she asked Keshana Thomas about Janiyah, the defendant told Bradley that Janiyah was not her child, but was in fact her sister's. A co-worker of Keshana Thomas from Walmart, Shantavia McDuffie, went to the defendant's apartment several times in 2014. She observed all of the children of the defendant except for Janiyah. She also observed a zebra and pink ottoman in front of the guest bathroom. At a February 2015 family funeral attended by the defendant, all of her children were present with the exception of Janiyah. On or about the evening of October 15, 2015, Diane Dowling, the aunt of Keshana Thomas, was asked by the defendant if the defendant could store a freezer at 5016 21st Way East in Bradenton, Manatee County, Florida. Thereafter, the defendant and her boyfriend, Trayvon McCullough, brought a freezer over to the aforesaid address. Detectives interviewed Trayvon McCullough on the evening of October 18, 2015. McCullough stated he had been dating Keshana Thomas for approximately 3 months. Stated that he stayed over at the apartment several times during the period, but had only seen 4 children. He had never seen Janiyah, and Keshana Thomas never mentioned her. A few days prior to October 18, 2015, Keshana told him that she believed she would be going to jail, but did not disclose why. She asked his assistance in transporting a deep freezer to her grandmother's house. He had previously observed the freezer with a lock on it at Keshana's apartment. He had not looked inside the freezer and had no idea that it contained the body of Janiyah. He assisted Keshana in transporting the freezer to her grandmother's, where it was then plugged in. Thomas had told her aunt, Diane Dowling, that the freezer needed to be plugged in so that her meat didn't go bad, and that the freezer had to be padlocked so, quote, no one steals my meat. When Dowling became aware that Janiyah was missing, the freezer was opened, and the body of a small, frozen, emaciated African-American girl was found stuffed into a FedEx box, which was post-dated mid-January 2015. The body was later identified as Janiyah Thomas through dental records. An autopsy by Dr. Daniel Schultz was conducted. And Dr. Schultz observed that Janiyah was suffering from extreme emaciation and malnutrition due to starvation. She had a fracture of the right femur, which had occurred weeks to months prior to her death, and ligature marks around her wrists and ankles. As a result of these observations, Dr. Schultz opined that Janiyah died as a result of homicidal violence of an undetermined etiology, which it could include as mechanisms the starvation, asphyxiation, or drowning of Janiyah. During the course of the investigation, it was discovered that the school board of Manatee County had received 2 letters purporting to have been written by Keshana Thomas. In the first letter, dated August 14, 2013, Kishana Thomas expressed her intention to homeschool Janiyah in contrast to her other children who attended public school. Second letter, dated January 26, 2015, Kishana Thomas wrote the school board that, quote, Janiyah Thomas no longer lives in the state of Florida. Family members also reported that Kishana Thomas had told them Janiyah was no longer living with her, but was living with other relatives or godparents that no one else in the family was aware of. Handwriting expert Ray Green obtained handwriting exemplars from the defendant and opined that the letters to the school board were in fact written by the defendant. Retta Bradley and Terry Smith, who observed Kishana Thomas on December the 15th, 2014, are the last adults known to have seen Janiyah Thomas alive.
All right, and Mr. Brown, did all of these events occur in Manatee County?
They did.
All right, thank you, sir. I'll find a factual basis for the plea. I'll accept the plea. I find the defendant has freely, voluntarily, and intelligently waived her rights. I find that Ms. Thomas is competent, coherent, and alert, and I find that she's knowingly entered into the plea and understands the nature of the charges and consequences of the plea. Mr. Roberts, is there any legal reason not to proceed to sentencing at this time?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Thomas, is there anything you'd like to say before I impose your sentence?
I'm doing this, Your Honor, because I feel this is in my best interest and that I don't want to put my kids through a trial.
All right. Do you have any questions about anything before I impose your sentence?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Then, in case number 2015 CF 3572, I'll adjudicate you guilty of all charges. As to count 1, I'll adjudicate you guilty, order that you serve 65 years in the Department of Corrections with credit for all time served. As to count 2, I'll adjudicate you guilty, order that you serve 15 years in the Department of Corrections. And as to count 3, adjudicate you guilty and order that you serve 5 years in the Department of Corrections. Counts 2 and 3 will run concurrent with count 1.
Your Honor, I just want to make sure it's on the record that she is getting credit for time served in all cases. That includes today's date.
All right. She will be getting credit for all time served in all cases, and the time will include today's date. As to case number 2015 CF 3593, I'll adjudicate you guilty, order that you serve 5 years in the Department of Corrections with credit for all time served in all cases, including today. And that case will run concurrent with count 1 of case number 2015 CF 3572. I will order court costs, one set of costs as to each case. They will go to judgment. All other financial obligations, which would be $100 to the state. Are there 2 law enforcement agencies or 1?
There's one agency, I don't know, the homicide case, the murder case was done by the task force, so I don't know what the affidavit reflects, but that would, I guess, be, I don't know if those get assigned simply to Bradenton or Bradenton and the Sheriff's Department. Do you know, Detective Meriden? Sheriff's Office, I'm sorry. So as to 3572, that would be assigned to the Sheriff's Office, and the other one would be assigned to the Bradenton Police Department.
All right, so I'm going to just order $100 to the state for both cases, $200 to BPD in the 3572 case, and $200 to MSO in the 3593 case, and 1 set of court costs in each case.
quote, will reserve on
Yes.
jurisdiction for restitution in both cases?
Yes, I'll reserve on restitution on both cases. You have 30 days to appeal the judgment and sentence. If you can't afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you. This time, Ms. Thomas, you are remanded to the Department of Corrections. Well, that's where they wanted to send them to DFR. Right, everything else to go to DFR.
Okay, I'll do it like that.
Yes. And I'll give you this. I don't need that for any reason.
We no longer need those.
Oh, okay, all right.
Charge them automatically. We're really
Okay.
lucky.
Didn't know how you guys were doing it.
Paper every day. We used to have to get one of those in every day. And I didn't need to.
I'm just asking, I hadn't, they are recommending.
What cost the judgment, prosecution, attorney, and then investigator to DFR? She's going to report to DFR in 65 years.
Are you staying for my sentencing? Okay.